Hello, my name is Suresh Nair, and I'm here today to give you some basic tips about music. I have a presentation that I had put together, so it would be helpful if you have reviewed that presentation before this to understand some of the basic concepts I have explained into it. So there are, when we say music, in any type of music all over the world, there are two basic aspects to it. One is the sur or the melody, and the other is the tal or the rhythm. So we will not dwell too much on the rhythm aspect today. Maybe I'll cover that in some other session. But today I want to basically dwell on the sur or the notes and the melody part of it. So when you say notes or the sur, as all of you know, it says that it is said that there are seven swars. Sa re ga ma pa dha ni sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. Now that's not exactly true. The Saregama Padhanisa are the seven basic notes. There are of course five more notes, which are, if you look at the piano, there will be seven. It will be a pattern of seven white keys and five black keys. So the seven white keys are called in Hindustani music. They are called Shuddha Swars, and there are other five keys which are basically Komal Rishabh, Komal Gandhar, Tivra Madhyam, Komal Nishad, and Komal Dhaivat. So, so that's the basic of it. Now, one thing I will kind of explain. I also want to kind of explain to you that there are multiple octaves. So if you see the sa, and what are octaves are basically, it's kind of how it sounds. There is a technical aspect that I have explained in my presentation about frequencies and so on. But just to kind of give you an example, if you take a very this is a piano in front of me, and I'm just going to play the middle C or the sa, which is sounds like this. Sa. But if you look at, if you go one octave lower, the sa will sound sa. And if I go one octave higher, the sa will sound sa 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 sa. Same thing. Re re ga ga. So that is the octave. So whenever you are singing a song, you are basically using notes not just from one octave but from multiple octaves, depending on how the song is. In the usually at the beginning of the song it will be lower notes, and when you go to the antarats, it will use some higher notes. So one of the things which is a very much of an enigma for people who haven't learned singing, or who are not very familiar with the concept of music, is the something called scale or key, or what we call in here in Indian music as patti. So the concept, so I want to kind of give you a bit of a demo and the theory behind that concept. Now let's say, let's use an example, an analogy of where somewhat of something that everybody is familiar with. We are all familiar with the numbering system, which is like zero. If you look at the whole numbers, it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so 0 basically is nothing. 1 is 0 plus 1. 2 is 0 plus 1 plus 1. 3 is 0 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. So there is a unit 1, and there is a base reference 0, and that's how all the other numbers are kind of use that as a reference. So if I say now that I don't have any candies in my hands, okay, I don't have any candies in my hands. Now if I pick this one, I'll say I have one candy. If I pick another one, I'll say there are two candies. But now if I change the reference, let's say, okay, now if I say I have 0 candies in my hands. Now mind you, this is a little bit harder because we always said this is 0 is our definition, but I'm not changing that definition, changing the reference. Now I'm going to say I have 0 candies in my hands. Now with that as the reference, 0, how many are these? It will be 1 because 0 plus 1, right? And then if I have two here, sorry, I have 2 more. But now I'm going to say, I'm not going to say, because this is my 0, I'm going to now say I have 2 candies. So the reference is very important. As the reference changes, things will change. You might say that this is kind of a very we are not understanding this concept. In that case, let me give another analogy. Let's just say we are very much familiar with the, let's say, the dollar to rupee equivalent, right? So now let's say the dollar is $1 is equal to 75 rupees, let's assume. And if I have 750 rupees, then I would say I have $7. Now let's just hypothetically assume that the dollar to rupee exchange, the reference changes, and it say now the rupee is say 50 rupees is $1. In that case, will I still have $75? No, it's going to change because my reference had changed. So it's the same thing here in music. Let me explain it to you. Now let's say this is sa. Sa. Now before we go there, this is very difficult. When I'm singing sa, when I'm singing, now this is the sa, right? My voice is trying to match this voice. Sa. Basically, when my voice is matching my sa is matching this sa, then you should basically almost hear one harmonious sound instead of multiple sounds. For example, I'll start playing sa and singing sa, but I will change the key, and then you will see what disharmony means. So I'm going to sing sa. See, so I started with sa, but I changed, started in my piano. As I kept singing sa, on my piano I started playing re, and then you can see the discord. Sa. So actually it will be this. Sa re ga. So that is how I'm trying to match well. So when I'm singing sa re ga ma, they are just not names. It's not just sa because it's sa. You can call it elikim, you can call it la la la, right? But it is basically I'm trying to watch my note, my whatever in scientific terms the frequency of notes or sound or whatever it is, I'm trying to match that. So this is my sa. Now let's come back to the scale. Now let's say this is my sa, and I'm going to sing one song, and I'm going to say and then let's try to sing the same song in different keys so that you understand the concept of how the reference with the change in reference, the song also will change. So let's say I'm going to sing a song. Sa. This is my sa, and in that, using that key or that reference, I'm going to sing a song, and then we'll try to change the reference, and then we'll sing the same song in that reference. So sa bhi na jao chhod kar ke dil abhi bhara nahi, abhi na jao chhod kar ke dil abhi bhara nahi. So for this my reference was abhi na jao. Now I'm going to play another key. So my reference is I'm going to change, and as we progress to much farther than the original, you will see the difference. So now my reference is going to be this. Again, for reference, initially abhi na jao chhod kar सा अभी न जाओ छोड़ कर. I'm changing. I'm changing my sa again. सा अभी ना जाओ छोड़ कर, अभी न जाओ छोड़ कर. सा अभी ना जाओ छोड़ कर. Now if I go to lower notes, let's say my sa is सा अभी न, सा अभी न जाओ छोड़ कर के दिल अभी भरा नहीं. सा अभी न जाओ छोड़ कर के दिल अभी भरा नहीं. So what happens with this is, once I decide what my reference sa is, all the other notes change. So let's say, again using the numbering system, let's say my numbers are, I have a pattern of numbers which says 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and the reference is 0. So it'll be 3, 4, 5, 6. Now if I made the reference as 1, the whole 3, 4, 5, 6 is going to shift, and it's actually going to be 4, 5, 6, 7, because everything is shifted. It's the same song. A song can be defined, uses different notes, right? A song is going to use different notes, but with the reference, those all the notes should change. Otherwise, you cannot sing one note in one reference and another note with another reference. Sometimes they deliberately do that in some of the songs. Like if you listen to, let me give you. I can't remember an example. There are a couple of examples, like for example, Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You. At the end of the song, she kind of changes key. Like if she's singing, and I will always love you, and I will always love you. They're changing the keys, changing the octaves. So that changes. But normally, in most of the songs, the key will remain the same, and you are going to sing that song in the same scale. So how do you now train yourself to this? It's easier for me to tell you that, and even if you understand, how do you actually put that into action? um, you cannot just directly go and say, oh, I learned this and I'm going to put it in action. That's not how it works. You need to do some practice. So what I would suggest, that if you have let's say your kids are learning piano or keyboard or whatever it is, if not, just invest. For less than $100 you might be able to get a keyboard. So what I would suggest is invest in that and then try to practice. So let's, for example, just practice. Just I wanted to kind of, many people think that when if you're learning sa re ga ma or whatever, then you are going to classical. No, that is not. That's like saying that if you're learning ABCD, you're directly going to jump to reading Shakespeare. No, even if you have to write a small Twitter message or anything, you still need the ABCDs. Those are the basic building blocks. Now what you do with these building blocks is up to you. You can just use it to sing a normal song, or you can go ahead, if you learn more and practice more and everything, you might be able to compose your own songs. You might be able to be a great singer. Who knows? Right? That's how it is. But the basic building blocks remain the same, no matter what you're whether you are singing a ghazal or a thumri or a film song, a pop song, or any kind of a folk song or a classical song. The basic building blocks of sa re ga ma pa dha ni sa si, whatever is the notes, are the same. So what I would suggest is, if you have this, then you just start. If you cannot, in my presentation I have kind of given how to recognize what is the what are the how you recognize the pattern of keys on a keyboard. Sa re ga ma pa dha ni sa, or as in English they call it C D B A, C D B F G A AB kind of thing, right? Not sure why it is kind of structured that way, but that's how it goes. So once, if you don't if you find it difficult, then just take a tape or something and just mark it on the keys so that and then just practice it. Try to say match the note. So if I'm playing sa, sa, re, ga, ma, pa, dha, ni, sa. So try to first maybe use one reference. So this was in this case, my reference was this. In you can so just practice sa re ga ma pa dha ni sa, sa ni da pa ma ga re sa, right? And you can do different patterns there in Indian music. When they are teaching music, they use something called alankars. Alankar are just patterns of notes. It's just kind of repetition on patterns, so that you start recognizing, you train your ears, you train your voice to those to those notes. So a simple alankar or would be pattern of note would be sa re re ga ga ma ma pa pa dha dha ni ni sa, sa ni ni da da pa pa ma ma ga ga re sa. The two notes. Or I could do sa re ga ma pa dha ni sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. Or I can even go this way. Sa re sa ga sa, sa re sa ga sa ma sa pa sa dha sa ni sa. You can make whatever patterns you can make, but the whole point is trying to train your ears. First, you have to train your ears to recognize the notes. Only then you can, if your input is good, then your output will be good. So try to do that, and then maybe what you can do is usually a keyboard has a transpose function. You'll find a transpose key on this thing. Basically what that is doing is, if it will allow you to change the reference. So you are singing one key, as soon as I transpose it, then I could change to a reference. So you use the same patterns, the same alankars to train in different keys. That way then you recognize. And when you are doing this, it's very important that you are trying to match your voice. So it shouldn't be that you are playing something on the keyboard but you're singing something different. Then actually that defeats the purpose. It has to be very clear. I mean, maybe for the first 1 or 2 lessons, try to have somebody in front of you who can recognize or who understands this and can correct you if you're doing something wrong. So the whole point of matching is this: sa. Even this basic thing is very important, to practice one note at a time. How long can you sustain? Just take a deep breath and see how long can you sustain before singing that note in a quite unwavering voice. After some time, you will see, after a few seconds, let's say maybe a 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, you will see that your voice starts wavering because you cannot sustain. But as you practice more and more, you will see that your voice is your notes are coming up very sharp, very clear, and you can sustain it for longer. So let's say I'm trying to sing sa. Sa. See, what happens is, when I'm singing, what is happening is, initially it takes me a little bit time to try to come up and match that note. Then I can sustain that note for a while, and then after some time, because my voice is getting tired or I'm losing the lung capacity, it starts wavering. The thing is, well, practice more and more practice, you will be able to do it better and better. So the same thing. Re, ga, ma, pa. So that is one aspect. A few things that you have to also remind is, make sure that you are sitting straight. Take a deep breath when you are always singing. You also make sure that you're opening your voice and you're singing from like you have to feel when the notes are coming out. You have to feel something coming from like your like the bottom of your stomach, right from near something from your belly button. Your sound, your note shouldn't just come from your throat. You know that when you're singing, though using if you're singing, if you're feeling something in the belly button, kind of inside of the stomach, then that way you know that you are using that with full capacity, full lung capacity, and then your notes will be sharp and clear. If you're just singing with your throat, when you're songing, then you may think it sounds sweet, but it's not really coming as properly. So try to use the lung. I'm not asking you to shout. It's not like it's not good, it's not powerful. At the same time, I'm not saying no, don't do that. It just basically try to be balance it between trying to give a nice powerful note. At the same time, do not lose the aesthetic of those notes, because everything about music is an aesthetic. If you are singing, it has to be pleasing to your ears, and it has to be pleasing to the whoever is the listener. So just make sure that you practice this. So again, coming back, a few things that we learned. There are notes, like there are multiple notes, or sur. They are in different octaves. Basically, when I say an octave, it says like a sa in one octave and a sa in another octave is almost kind of same but different. You can just consider, let's say, you take a t-shirt or something, a piece of cloth, and you say, and there are different sizes. It looks the same, it feels the same, everything is same, but let's say one is in extra small and one is large. The only thing is the size changes, but everything is the same. It's the same concept here. So a sa in one octave, sa, 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 sa. They're basically kind of are similar, but at the same time they are different because the frequencies are different. They are the higher frequencies. So remember that the octaves. Then we remember something about we learned something about the reference point. The reference point is very important. With the sa of forms the reference, and all other notes are in reference to that sa. Um, and you can change, any song can be sung in any keys. How do so as you change the sa, and all the notes kind of get shifted, and that's how you either, it doesn't matter whether somebody is singing in C scale, or somebody is singing a D scale, or somebody is singing in a E scale. It will sound the same. It will feel a little different depending on it will just feel a little different, but it will sound the same. The songs will be the same, right? So if I'm singing twinkle twinkle little star, how I wonder what you are, right? But if I change the, say, I'm going to transpose this to, I'm going to change my C, my C or sa, 2 notes higher. So now this is my sa. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Sa, twinkle, twinkle, little star. Let me go lower. Sa, twinkle, twinkle, little star. So I hope with this you understand how the reference changes. With the reference, the song will change. One question you may ask is, how does a musician, let's say music composer, decides that, okay, this song has to be sung in this song has to be sung in this? It really depends on a vocal range and of the singer, and also the range of notes that a song is going to sing. For example, let's say song which is going to be sung, let's say a typical Jagjit Singh or some other song, which is like which never goes very high, then you can use it in a sing it in a, let's say, a C scale or a D scale, because something which is, so that the lower notes, when it shouldn't be the lower notes are very, you're like struggling, ah, and it shouldn't be the when the higher notes you're like, ah, I can't sing that notes kind of thing, right? So you find find, you look at the, let's say, the range of the song is this, I'm just kind of giving you a kind of, the range of the song is say from this to this, and range of the, then you will probably, so you can have a singer whose range is this, you can have a singer whose range is this. So depending on that, you try to find the right balance of what is, in what scale you would be singing that song. At the same time, we also, as I said, everything about music is aesthetics, so you also make sure that it is sounds good, it sounds nice. I want to give an example, like for example, I sing myself, I like to sing a lot of Lata Mangeshkar songs, and many times, preferably I would like to sing them in my own scale, my comfortable scale. But many times the tracks that are available on, wherever I'm singing from, are not always in the scale that I would prefer to sing. So what happens is, so for example, let's say, I'll give a very good example. That is a very a famous song that you guys know, which is where Lata has to stretch very high, like Ajiru. This now, I think this is in, I don't know exactly what scale it is, but it is Lata scale, which is अजीर उठ कर अब कहाँ जाइएगा, जहाँ जाइएगा हमें पाइएगा. Now if I look at the antara of that song, it goes even higher. La 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 la. Now see, now Lata can easily sing this song. Actually, even for Lata, this is a stretch, but she can easily sing this song and without making it not difficult for us to listen to it. But when I'm singing, it doesn't really sound right. So my comfortable scale is basically, let's say, हाजिर उठ कर अब कहाँ जाइएगा, जहाँ जाइएगा हमें पाइएगा. La 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 अजीर उठ कर अब. So when I'm singing in my natural scale with my vocal range capacity, it sounds much more pleasing instead of trying to say la 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 la. So that's where the changing the scale and changing singing it in the right scale comes into picture. So I hope with this you have got a picture of what scale means, what reference means, and I also kind of try to tell you how you can train yourself into recognizing those. I mean, if you just do some invest in a keyboard and try to practice, trying to match your voice and doing some simple sa rega ma ga ma pa pa dha, whatever, different types of patterns and notes. Once you start training yourself, you will automatically see a difference in how you start singing the song, and once you will start try to understand the concept behind this, which is not easily it's not taught. If you haven't gone to a music lesson, then it becomes like you are basically hit and, if you're once in a while, if you don't know and you're doing something, then it's usually hit and miss. Maybe once in a while you will sing a song perfectly, but if you're not doing it right, then basically it's a hit and miss. Sometimes you might just go off without realizing, or you may realize that you're doing something wrong, but you don't know exactly what is wrong. So with this, when you train yourself, when you understand the concept, then it's very difficult. Actually, if I'm like, I used to sing just like as a hobby, but again, it was a hit and miss. But once I learned it, now it's difficult for me to sing incorrectly, because I just know it just comes to me. So it's difficult for me to um, go off key or something. I might go off key once in a while, but that's not because, but that may be more because I don't know the song properly, or I am just not able to reproduce the notes. But in my mind, I know, hey, it should have been this way, but I sung it this way, which is incorrect. At least you know that you're wrong, and that is more than half the battle won. So I wish you best, and I hope that you will try to put this to use, because a lot of you do love to sing as a hobby. Nothing wrong with that. You can, if you are singing for yourself and you are finding pleasure with it, continue with it. But a lot of you, I know, also want to learn and improve your singing. So and I want others to appreciate your singing as much as you want to appreciate your singing. So I hope this is helpful to you. So best luck and goodbye.